Hi, everybody. My name is Rick Jaime. I'm here with Mike O'Brien. We're with the Mesa Fire Medical Deferred Comp Committee. We are your representatives on the committee, and we'd like to give you some updates on a new feature that we're introducing into the core fund lineup. As deferred comp committee members, we're constantly looking at new types of investments, and we're constantly looking at ways to improve the overall deferred comp offering and choices that you have. So one thing we've been looking at for quite a while is something called target date funds. And many of you may have heard of target date funds. You might even own them in other accounts. Up until this point, I personally haven't felt very comfortable with target date funds. They didn't have a lot of history, performance history. Their fees were quite expensive, and we just didn't really feel comfortable adding them into the portfolio. Well, fast forward several years, and we're at the point where we are today. That space is much more mature, and we've gone ahead and selected a mutual fund company called American Funds that has a whole core lineup, or a whole lineup of target date funds that you can choose from. So myself and Mike are here today to kind of introduce the concept of target date funds, explain a little bit about what they are, tell you about some of the features, and then obviously, we're going to recommend that you consult with your financial advisor. But with that introduction, Mike, do you want to go ahead and kind of walk us through what target date funds are?
Sure. Thanks, Rick. So as Rick said, we are going to introduce some target funds into our lineup. You'll see a brief overview of target funds. So target date funds can provide portfolio diversification with a mix of equity and debt investments. They take some of the guesswork out of your asset allocation, which is basically how you choose to invest your different assets. That's your allocation. It can be a worthwhile alternative for investors who want to avoid the confusion of portfolio rebalancing. I know I talk to a lot of members out there who say, hey, I'm not really sure what I should be in. I chose one profile when I was in the academy and I haven't really touched it. This can take some of the confusion out of that. And it can offer a simple and diversified solution to investors in a single investment solution. Basically, what a target date fund does is it rebalances over time based on the point in your career or your life you're at. So if you'll look at the chart, it will start out typically as a higher equity percentage when you're in a more risky investor environment. So think when you're young, you're looking for growth, it's going to start out in a higher equity percentage, and then slowly over time as you get closer and closer to retirement, when you want to have more stability and some more fixed income into your investments, it will balance out and have less equity and more fixed income investments like bonds and other securities that are more secure with probably a smaller return, but less chance of losing any of your money.
And if I can just jump in there real quick, Mike, one thing that we really want our members to consider when they're choosing these, one of these target date funds is, just because you're set to retire after 25 years, for example, at a certain year, that may not be the year in which you're actually going to start drawing the money. So your target, if you're going to retire, let's just say in 2030, but you're not really going to start drawing the money until 2040, then that's a big difference. And so you probably, or you may not want to choose the 2030 target date fund, but you'd opt for the 2040 target date fund when you're actually going to start utilizing the money. I just wanted to kind of throw that out there.
Great point, Rick, and I'll give an example on that in a second, but basically, again, this is something that we're going to offer all these different fund dates, and I'll talk about that in a second, but you'll want to talk with your investment advisor, and based on your age, your family situation, the other kinds of accounts and investments you might have, on which of these target date funds might be right for you. So basically, it's a diverse fund that changes over time as you get closer and closer to retirement. It goes from riskier earlier in your career to less risky and safer later in your career when you're getting closer to start drawing the money. So the next slide shows 3 different cars here, and that's supposed to be representative of kind of the stage in life of this person. So the motorcycle is, you're probably young, single, you're looking for growth, you have a longer time frame to invest. It kind of moves over to the convertible there. Maybe you have a significant other, you guys are building some financial picture together, and then it moves on to the SUV later in life. You probably have a family, you're starting to think about different things, maybe some income preservation as opposed to growth. You'll see at the bottom of each of those, there's an investment mix that shows what the percentage might be. So again, this is just an example. It's not showing a specific target date fund that we have or their allocation, but it's just an example of how it will change over time. And the target date funds will adjust for you. The investment managers professionally manage these every year, and they take a look and they will rebalance that every year as it gets closer and closer to that target date. And they'll actually continue to manage each fund for 30 years after it reaches the target date, because you don't have to pull your money out. The fund doesn't close when that target date actually hits. So going back to the concept Rick talked about, you're going to choose a fund based on a target retirement date or some future date. I'll give you an example here. If you got hired when you were 20 and you plan on working 25 years, because that's how long you might have to work until you're eligible for retirement, so you retire at 45. Well, the likelihood is you're going to need your money for quite a long time after that. So you may not want to be in that. You may not want to choose a target date fund that's only 25 years out. You might want one that's 35 or 45 years out, because that's when you plan on starting to draw the money out of this account. So again, this is something that you'll talk about with your financial advisor based on your individual picture. I'll give you a kind of a different example. Let's say you got hired later on in life when you're 35, and so you're going to go 25 years, you're going to retire when you're 60. You might want a 25-year target date fund, because that might be the perfect time for you to start drawing your money when you're 60 years old. Obviously, you're at a different position in your life health-wise, and just kind of looking forward to how long you might live when you're 45 versus when you're 60. So again, that's that individual thing you'll want to talk about with your financial advisor. Each of our target funds themselves contains about 18 mutual funds within that fund. And that's where the investment advisors and the professional management team does the diversification. They choose 18 funds based on the timing of that target date fund. And within those 18 funds, there's about 2,400 individual stocks within them. So if you're worried about diversification, there's plenty of diversification within these funds. And because they're already diversified and balanced for you, this is basically designed to put your entire deferred comp balance in, or your 401a or 457b. Basically what you're doing is saying, I'm not going to choose all these individual funds anymore. I'm not going to do a mix. I'm going to choose this one and have them balance it for me based on the time of life I am. So think of it as kind of a one-stop shopping for your retirement account, where you truly could put your money in there and not have to worry as much about rebalancing it over the course of your career based on the stage of life you're in. They are going to do that for you within this fund. So if that sounds attractive to you, this might be a fund that you'll want to look into.
That's a really good point, Mike. And I just want to kind of go back to one other thing that we may not have touched on, and that is that these target date funds will be available both in the 457 plan and the 401a plan. So for those of you that have signed up for the 401a or are looking to sign up for the 401a in the near future when you get out probation, these will be available there as well.
And not only will they be available, they're actually available right now. You would see them as an investment option in the target date funds right now. They're already up and active for both the 401a and the 457b. So you have the ability to invest in these as of today. We just wanted to give you a little intro to them as we roll them out here.
That's great, Mike. Thanks for all that information. That's really that's awesome. So, again, we're going to stress that you contact your financial advisor, whoever your financial consultant is. This is another option that you have in your deferred comp plan. If you have any questions, we are always available. I'm at station 219 on A shift. Mike is at station 203 on engine 2203 when it's up in service, or out roving if it's not in service. Brian Jeffries is also available at station 219A. And let us know if you have any questions and how these funds are working out for you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks a lot. Stay safe.